You may know him from being featured in the rebooted 2018 Contender TV series, from his nationally televised fights, or from simply sharing the same name as a boxing legend. Please welcome to Title Unboxed, Shane Mosley Jr.
Welcome to Title Unboxed. With more than 40 years of experience in the fight game, our host, Doug Ward, will be covering every corner of the ring as we get comfortable between the ropes. We'll talk with both the lesser knowns and the legends, discuss boxing's rich history and current state of the game. We'll also look at today's latest innovations, equipment breakdowns, and insights you won't uncover anywhere else. Join us now as we take a look inside Title Unboxed.
Shane, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Good to have you on.
Yeah, I'm happy to be on with you, man.
Awesome. Well, you got a big fight coming up. It's kind of one of the reasons the timing was right for this. You're fighting Jason Quigley for the NABO middleweight title on May 29th. Let's talk about that fight.
I'm excited. This was a fight that was actually supposed to happen my last fight. So I'm happy that we're able to make the fight happen. And I'm excited. I'm ready.
Well, it's a good fight because, on paper, you guys are a pretty close matchup. If you go back, you both started fighting in 2014. You've had a similar level of opponents throughout your career building you up to here. Your records are very similar. There are a lot of identical pieces to it. So what, come fight night, is going to separate you from Jason Quigley?
What's going to separate us is that I'm going to show that I'm the better fighter, and I'm going to show that I have the better boxing skills, and I'm just going to do my best and play my game and win.
That's what it comes down to.
Right.
Well, one advantage you may have on him is I did notice he hasn't fought since I think January of 2020, and you've been busy during this whole quarantine thing and fighting out of the bubble.
Yes, absolutely. He's been inactive, and obviously for boxers, that's like kryptonite,
Isn't it?
He also hasn't made 160, I think, almost in that same amount of time.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have to make 160, and that's gonna be, going against him, I guess.
Yeah.
But what's really going to separate us is the skill. I'm gonna show my skill. I'm gonna show that I deserve to be at the top level, and that's what I have to do ultimately. All that other stuff is just fluff.
Right.
When we get there, both of us, we got to show who's better, who's smarter, who's more intelligent, who's can put together their game plan the best, and I'm going to show that.
It all comes down to fight night, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, and another exciting aspect is this is a live event for the first time. It's going to be full capacity, right? There's going to be butts in seats, people cheering. It'd be like back to pre-quarantine days.
Right. Which I'm very excited about. I'm excited to have sports back, especially my sport. You know what I mean? So
for real.
I'm happy to be a part of that. I'm happy to give the fans a good showing and be a part of the entire event. We got a great night of fights that night, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's a good card. And at the Mandalay Bay, they haven't had fights there for a long time. I think the first big fight I ever saw was at Mandalay Bay. It was Fernando Vargas versus Felix Trinidad, which is a classic. And I think the last one I saw there was Amir Khan versus Marcos Maidana. I don't know if they've had any at Mandalay Bay since then.
Yeah, there hasn't been too many big fights there lately that I can remember offhand.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to have it back, and it's now, I think it changed to like the Michelob Arena or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's changed a little bit, but so I'm glad to open it up and be a part of the first, major event there as the Michelob. Yeah.
And it's a great fight venue. It's always housed some of the premier fights for many years in Vegas. So it's great to have it back, and what a great way to come out of the gates with the two of you guys facing off. Yeah. Yeah. So let's go back. You've had how many times you fought in the bubble? In the bubble, two times or three?
Two times. And then this is technically they're gonna have a bubble. Even though that there's like fans and things like that, we're still gonna have some sort of a bubble that we're gonna have to go into. So, this would be the third one for me.
Yeah.
And, you kind of got to take it as it is, obviously if you want to be a part of this, these events and things like that during this time, you gotta go and do all the things necessary in order to comply with all the regulations and things like that, which I completely understand. And you got to do what you got to do to get things done,
Well, this will definitely have a different feel to it, probably a higher level of excitement. Is that weird fighting in the bubble when there's no fans? You couldn't have your family there. You couldn't have all of your typical team on board in the corner or in the dressing room. Was that hard to adjust to?
Yes, it was very hard to adjust to. But, at the end of the day, I look at myself as a professional, and when that time comes, when somebody's throwing punches at you, and that fight or flight kicks in, and you're in a fight, so you got to do what you got to do. But it is weird, like hearing the announcers, hearing like the other guy's corner, obviously if I can hear like his corner, he can hear my corner, what I mean? So it's like
that's strange.
It's a little bit different, but we prepare for things like that. Like we do sparring, and obviously, in sparring, he can hear your coach and you can hear his coach. There's not really that many people in the, the gym. So it kind of breaks down like that.
Yeah, I would imagine once the punches start flying, it's just laser focus, and it doesn't matter if a crowd's there or not. It's just it's the same scenario you're used to. It's mano a mano, you and the other guy is really all it comes down to.
Right. And most of the time, like when you're really locked in and engaged in a fight, you hardly really notice the crowd. You know what I mean? Like most of the time, if you're laser focused on him, the crowd is the last thing that you're thinking about, So of course, some people are different than others. Some people pay more attention to that than others. But realistically speaking, it's just you and him in there.
That'll be cool though, to have people back cheering, and it does make a difference just in the buildup of the fight, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about your team, because I did mention them not all being with you. I want to dive into Larry Wade first. We had Coach Larry Wade on a few episodes ago. What a great guy to have in your corner in your team as far as strength and conditioning goes. What kind of impact has he made? How long have you been working with him? And what kind of impact has he made on your training process and just how you're progressing as a fighter?
So I've been working with Larry Wade for about 3 years now. I think 3 years now. And I think it's made a tremendous difference with me based upon just who Larry Wade is. Yeah. They a lot of people say that confidence or certain things are infectious. You know what I mean? Or like and also like keeping a good circle around you, like it's infectious, right? Like if you're in a certain circle, you're in a certain circle, you're gonna kind of be like them, right? And Larry Wade keeps a lot of confidence. He keeps a lot of champions around him. He keeps a lot of the, greatness around him. Right. Yeah. And so if I'm around that, it rubs off. So I found that it has rubbed off on me. And I found with him being in my corner, I've excelled, I've grown, and I've shown, greatness in myself as well. So I think that has rubbed off. Actually, a cool story is, so I was sparring with Sean Porter, like for one of his fights, and he had asked me, so I was asking him about working with Larry Wade, and I said, "Hey, what do you think about me working with Larry Wade?" And he was like, "I think it's great. I feel like I benefit from it. And I think that you would as well. But I don't think that it's only in the areas of like strength and conditioning or fitness. I think it's also in your confidence and your professionalism and all of these things, because he handles himself that way. And he expects that of his athletes. He expects his athletes to conduct themselves a certain way, right? So with that being said, I took his advice. I went with Larry Wade, and I feel like absolutely he's helped me excel in all those areas that he talked about.
Well, you can definitely see physically the changes he's brought into your game. You're a much bigger fighter as far as muscular wise, leaner, but you don't think about the mental aspect of that comes along with that. And I can imagine he's pretty hard on you, but also in a very positive way.
Absolutely. Of course, he's hard when he needs to be hard. He's encouraging when he needs to be encouraging. And, I could call Larry Wade anytime. And just, if I need to talk to him about anything, he's willing to talk to me and just help me get my mind straight. So, he's definitely been an asset to me, as a fighter.
Well, he definitely has all the tools in his bag. I mean, again, strength, conditioning, speed, power. He dives into your nutrition plan, I imagine, right? And kind of brings the whole thing to the table.
Yep.
Yeah. And then another addition to your team recently, I think within the last 2 fights, is Bones Adams.
Is Bones Adams,
and
yes.
Almost everybody knows who Bones Adams is.
Yeah. So this is the second fight with Bones. The first fight was my last fight.
Yep.
And so it was a great addition. Realistically speaking, it was also Larry Wade who made the suggestion.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We had to, because of COVID, there were certain, things that happened that we had to make adjustment as far as trainers. Obviously we're looking at, people in the Las Vegas area to, find as a trainer. We talked about it amongst my team, Mike Lenardi and Larry Wade. And, there's a lot of names out there, and Bones was one of those names. And so actually, Larry said, "Hey, what do you think about Bones?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, Bones has talked about working with me before. I think that'd be a good option." So set up something. So we set up something, and literally from the first day that I worked with him, I knew that he was my coach. Yeah. From the very first day, it was just like we connected. I tell him all the time, he has the same essence as my dad. Like, right. I kind of get that the same, and obviously because they come kind of from the same era, and I think that kind of plays in, and he gives me his mentality, his mindset, that work hard, kind of balls to the wall type of mentality. He definitely brings that to the table, and obviously it's something that I could see that my dad also had, and it kind of, to a certain degree, makes me feel like a little bit at home. And I think when I trained with him for the first time, I kind of felt that like almost immediately and instinctually. And since then, I feel like it's been very, very beneficial.
Well, there's an obvious, when you watch you guys in the gym and in your last fight, there's a familiarity there. There's obviously a connection that not all fighters and trainers have. And that's one of the great things about Bones is, he actually cares for his fighters. I know the old timers say, don't fall in love with your fighters, they'll break your heart. But, you almost have to a little bit to really care about that guy and put him in the right position, train him with your heart, and do the right things by them. I think you have to fall in love with your fighter a little bit if you're going to be successful to that level.
Absolutely. I think that there always has to be, chemistry. There has to be that connection. And, honestly, there has to be some love there, even if it's just a mutual love for the game, right? There has to be something there. Maybe not for, each other. You're like, oh, like, because obviously, people fall off and things like that. There's been many situations like that, right? It happens, especially in our game.
Yeah.
But I think you have to have that connection, that thing, whatever. Yeah.
Well, and what a great guy to have in there, somebody that's been through so much. I mean, he was a child prodigy, the first ever fighter ever licensed at the age of 16 in Nevada.
Yep.
I think he went undefeated for his first 29, 30 fights, something like that. And then won the WBC Bantamweight Championship. I mean, what a wealth of experience he's bringing to your game.
Yeah, absolutely. He brings a lot of knowledge and definitely brings that that killer mentality. He always, we got to knock him out. So he always is saying that and has that in his mind.
Yeah, well, that was his whole fight philosophy. He was out there. He was going to make it a war, regardless. Yep. You always knew what fight Bones was going to fight, and it was going to come forward and wear you down.
Yep.
So technically, how has he changed you as a fighter? Do you feel in this short amount of time? I know it's difficult in a couple, 2 or 3 fights, but how do you feel like he's impacted you technique wise and strategically?
Well, I definitely see that, punching to knock people out, obviously.
Yeah.
And just the mentality. I feel like always be ready, to punch, stepping off to the side, just more so mentality. Right. And I think that obviously going into that, the goal is to be a champion. He has that championship mentality. He has that, those little things that you need in order to do that. Right. And everybody can throw a punch. Everybody can tell you how, how to better, to throw a punch or whatever the case is. But a lot of times people can't tell you the mentality that you need to bring into it. They can't tell you the what to look for after you throwing shots or after you get hit with a shot or things like that. So he brings that strong mentality, a mentality that I saw in my dad. I mean, like that, I'm going to knock you out at any cost, at any time. And I can, and I believe it, you know what I mean? And, my dad believed it. Bones believes it. And I believe it as well.
I think it was pretty apparent in your last fight. I mean, we talked afterwards. And it felt like we saw a turning of the tables for Shane Mosley. There's always that point in somebody's career when you see the tides turn, you see them pivot, for lack of a better word. And this is a different fighter now. You controlled the range, you were aggressive, and yet you were effectively aggressive. You didn't just come forward all the time and take shots. You dictated the pace and the distance, and you were throwing hard. I mean, you landed some decent power shots. That hook was hitting him, all night long.
Yeah. I think that is a tribute to what Bones is telling me. Also, I can't say that Justin Gamber didn't have a part in that, especially, he helped me develop as well. So I think all of those pieces, my dad, my grandfather, all those things are coming to life. And I think that now it's more so mentality that I need. All of the experiences that I've had throughout, I've gained knowledge and stuff like that. And I have all those things now. I think Bones is like almost the perfect guy to have at the end in order to help me put it all together with my mentality, my mindset, and help me be great.
Well, and they say, this is kind of what you're getting at, but they say, the 5 people you surround yourself with, those are the people you're going to be most like. So if you surround yourself with people with the knowledge of Bones, the intelligence and approach of Larry Wade, and the other people on your team, I mean, it just makes you excel all that much more.
Absolutely. I agree.
The Contender. Let's talk about the Contender. 2018, they rebooted the Contender series, and Shane Mosley come on the scene. I think people knew who you were before then, but it just kind of shined the spotlight all that much brighter. What was your idea of what that would be like heading into it versus what that experience was actually like?
My idea of the whole experience, I was really nervous, because I understood like all the time that it would take, to do something like that. Obviously you got to go through the whole, the series. If you have to, film the series, then you have to go and let it kind of run its course.
Yeah.
And that's a year and a half or however long process. And so I was a little nervous, like, is that going to take away from opportunities that may arise,
right,
later on? And, I kind of just had to trust in God and,
yep,
and just trust that, everything will be okay. You just go out there, you go and do your best, give your all, and trust that everything's going to be okay on the other side. And I'm glad that I trusted. I'm glad, that I trusted the process, trusted God, and trusted that everything was going to be okay. It turned out to be a great experience. It shined light on me as a fighter. It gave me an opportunity for people to see me for me, and not for me as, Shane Mosley's son, but
right,
me for Shane Mosley Jr. Right. And I was able to kind of capitalize on that and get as far as I did. And I think that I'm a better fighter for it. I'm a better man for it. And I have that under my belt for the rest of my life.
I mean, a strange environment to be in, though, right? I mean, you're in a dorm room with guys you're fighting, guys you could potentially be fighting. I mean, the whole thing's got to be a little bit surreal, right? You're like, it's strange.
Absolutely. It's definitely a surreal experience. I think that fortunately for me, I was able to be around a lot of elite fighters growing up. I was kind of fortunate enough to be around a lot of training camps and just a lot of experiences in that way, where you find that you gotta stay in your lane. Obviously, be a part of all of the interactions and things like that, but enough at a distance in order to be able to separate yourself, right?
Yeah.
And if you can't separate yourself, you're doing something wrong, right? If you're able to get caught up in the drama, get caught up in the, all of the nonsense that these things want, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to be there and be able to be visible for it, but you don't want to be in it too much to where it hurts you, to where it messes up why you're actually there.
Yeah.
And
or changes public perception of you. It's not
right,
or actually who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also staying focused throughout, right? That was one of the hardest things. So if you're going to fight, right, most of the people don't know that we're fighting every other day, or however often it is, and it's a short amount of time to have so many fights, right? Even though they're short fights, they're still fights, and your body, your mind has to go through all of these things, right? And a lot of times, most of the time when people fight, boxers don't have like a short reboot, like like people think, right? Yeah. There's usually like a long time in between fights.
There's recovery time,
right? Yeah. Some people have 2 months, 3 months. I mean, shoot, there's people that don't fight for years, and that's not by choice. It's by just not being able to do it or whatever life, so you don't really get like that back-to-back time, right?
Yeah.
And with that being said, you have to stay focused throughout that time, because a lot of times when boxers, after they fight, they kind of go, you know what I mean? They can blow up their weight. They do all these things. It's not that same kind of like amateur mentality when you're fighting in a tournament and it's like, all right, I'm fighting today, I'm fighting tomorrow, and then I'm fighting 2 days after that. You know what I mean? Like when you're going up and kind of in that the amateur stage, you kind of have that mentality, right? Because I'm going to the tournament and I've got to be 165 or whatever the weight is that you're at every single day or every other day, right? To maintain it. And when you turn professional, you think, oh, okay, I can make weight and then, kind of, blah, or just like relax a little bit, right? It's not that consistent mindset.
Yeah.
And I think that was where a lot of people fell off, right? Even if it's just mentality,
yeah,
right? Not even like food or weight. It's like, okay, I just fought. Okay, I can relax. No, you got to stay in that mindset. You got to stay in that, like, I'm a killer mindset, or I'm fighting this dude. He's looking at me. He thinks that, like I'm giving in, or I got a black eye, and he's gonna try to get on that, right?
Yeah.
So if you it's a little paranoid, but you got, like, in that moment, this is why we're here, right? We're in here because we're trying to win this tournament, and it's a small amount of time, and so you got to stay in that mindset. You got to stay focused. You got to stay ready. And that was kind of one of the things that I loved about it.
Yeah.
So I think that was one beneficial thing, to stay in that mindset, stay ready. And I grew from it,
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in a sense, you said it, even though they're shorter fights, there were still fights. It still has the same preparation, the same mentality, the same physicality and mental, whatever toughness you have to come up with. But you almost had a whole year's worth of fights condensed into this short time frame. So that had to have been good experience to, like, stay on for that and stay keyed in and, gain that bit of experience that short amount of time.
Oh, most definitely. It was a lot of experience all in one. And there was a lot of guys with a lot of experience on the show. We had John Thompson on the show. We had, Brandon Adams. We had, the list of, many great fighters on there.
Yeah.
And to be the last two fighters, being the main event of the finale, that was incredible. Nobody expected me to be there. Nobody expected me to get that far. And maybe that was their fault. Maybe underestimating me and saying, oh, he's just, because I never underestimated anybody.
Right.
I never underestimated none of those guys. And you got to look at the thing. Obviously, you're still thinking, okay, I could fight any one of you at any point in time. But you also, in the same breath, got to think, I'm fighting you one at a time.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting you all. So
That's good. That's a good point.
Exactly. I'm not fighting you all. I'm fighting one of you one at a time. It could be any one of you, but I'm only fighting one of you. So I don't have to give you everybody a mean attitude. I don't have to be upset at anybody. I just have to be ready, be focused, and be on point to fight anyone at any point in time. So, again, that mindset, that mentality, that these are things that are important for championship level, right? Mm-hmm. Because when you're the champion, everybody's gunning for you. So I can fight any one of you at any point in time, but I'm not fighting all of you. So I don't have to give everybody a mean attitude, but I got to be ready at all times because they're all looking for me. They're all gunning for me. They're all ready for me to show a chink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yep. Just a little chink in the armor.
Just one weakness. One weakness to take advantage of.
Yep.
Well, you were smart about that because you kind of laid low key. You were in the drama, but you're not part of the drama.
Exactly.
And you were definitely the underdog too. Do you feel like that was because, and we'll get into this a little bit more, because every interview has to bring up your dad. But do you feel it was a little bit, was that they're like, he's just Shane Jr. He's riding on his dad's coattails, living off the name. He's not really that much of a fighter. And that kind of played against them because they were underestimating you.
Yeah.
Or do you think it was something else?
Well, I can't speak for anybody else, right? Yeah. So I really don't know what people thought about or took into account. But I think that the guys that did know me knew my work ethic and knew those things like Brandon Adams, like Malcolm McAllister.
Yep.
You know, some of these guys that were from California, they knew me, and they knew like, okay, Shane's serious, you know, but some of these other guys didn't. So, you know, I'm not going to let them know until we, you know what I mean? I'm not going to say, hey, you should take me serious. You know what I mean? If you're not taking me serious, that's not my fault. You know what I mean? Like, I am going to, if you're asleep on me, I'm gonna keep you asleep until we fight. Yeah. Right. Until you find out it's too late. And that's what anybody should do. Right. That's the art of war. You know, when your opponent thinks of you as weak, yep, keep him thinking that way. I don't want to change your mind until it's too late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna beat on my chest and say, he thinks I'm weak. I'm not gonna say, no, I'm strong. Look at all this stuff I can do. No, I'm gonna say, okay, yes, I'm weak.
Yeah. Have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and that's what I played into. So if you think that I'm some spoiled kid, you know what I mean, that's living off of his dad's name and all of these things, by all means. It's not.
I don't think people know your background either. I mean, you didn't have anything handed to you. There was a period of time when you were, I don't know, everybody knows this. I don't know if you want people to know this, but you were homeless in California. You're living out of your car. People just think, well, nah, Shane's always had it good. He's had, the path all set for him and all that. And it's really not anything like that.
Yeah. I've, everybody goes through their struggle. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. This was a part of, you know what I mean? Maybe some bigger, some smaller than others, right? Obviously. But everybody goes through their struggle, and everybody's struggle is different. Everybody handles their struggles differently. I don't mind people knowing that side. But, I'm so glad and I'm so blessed to have good people around me. And I've always had that. And I've always been blessed enough to have such great people around me, like you, I could go down the list of names of all the great people that I've had in my life. And I've been so blessed to have that. So those people have been able to keep me up and keep me going in the right direction. And when I've fallen short, or when I haven't been doing what I was supposed to do, these people have kept me on course and online. And, I think that everybody should keep good people around them, if they possibly can, or put themselves in the best environment that they can to thrive, because it has definitely helped me. It has definitely shown that. And of course, these people, like you said, I was living with some friends on their couch before I went into the Contender. Most of the guys on the Contender didn't know that.
Right.
But it wasn't for me to let them know that. It wasn't for me to let them know that I'm a hungry dog. that I'm ready. That I'm willing. I'm willing to fight anybody to get through this. Right. It's not for me to tell you that. It's for me to just show it. And when it was time to show it, I showed it. And that's the same as now, right? Like I'm hungry. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this moment. I've been training my butt off in order to get this and for this opportunity. So
but those struggles make you who you are. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm sure. I mean, we go back, Caprice and I, my wife Caprice and I, we talk about the times when we had 4 kids and we're living on $12,000 a year. Was that fun? Was that pleasant? No, it was a friggin' struggle. But would I go back and change that now? Not for $1 million. Because it's made me appreciate where I'm at now, what we've been able to do, the life we have, our kids, being able to teach them a work ethic, just the whole thing it brings to the picture. You have to feel that way, that you wouldn't change those.
Right. And that experience, that time of your life is invaluable. No amount of money is worth that experience, because forever you'll have that, and your kids will have that. And you'll be better forever for it. So absolutely. I'm so thankful for those experiences, and I never want to go back there. I don't want my kids to see that. And I don't want my kids to live through that. And, you know, I think that I'm better for it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point, though. You wouldn't want to change it, but you don't want to go back there for anything.
Oh,
That's
no.
part of what motivates you for the future, you know?
Oh, we're not going back there, man.
Yeah. Well, before we leave the Contender House, I have to also bring up some great mentorship you had to have had with Sergio Mora, who won the first season of Contender with Ray Leonard and Sylvester Stallone, that whole cast. Andre Ward, who's, I think, one of the greatest fighters of all time. I think he's highly underrated and will go down as history as definitely one of the greatest middleweights ever. Freddie Roach and Brother Nazim. I mean, what are some of the things you gleaned from these guys? What would you take away from their knowledge and the things they shared with you?
Oh, man.
I know.
Invaluable information.
Yeah.
With Andre Ward, I have to say, what a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Like, just, he has such an aura around him. He exudes confidence, like not even trying.
Yeah.
And his attitude when he's around guys, and just his mentality, some of the things that he says. But, you know, he even said, like, when we were on the show, he was like, if I were here and I was in this competition with you guys, I wouldn't be sleeping in those same rooms as you. He said, I would be sleeping on the couch because I'm different than you guys. And I would make it known that I'm different, that I can't sleep in the same room as you guys.
Oh, wow.
Whoa. Oh, wow. Like, but I mean, if that separates you, if that's what you have to have in order to feel, you know, like I'm different. I'm not going to put myself in the same room as you. Even if you know, I'm not sleeping on the bed, I can sleep on, like if I have to, I'll sleep on the floor, but I'm not like you guys. You know what I mean? Like, just
That's
like
smart, that thinking. Yeah.
And that is the type of fighter he was.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, he's like that. He knows how to separate himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just knows how those little inches, those little things, you know, one punch, you know what I mean? Or, you know, just small stuff. He's very, you know, meticulous and confident, but smart.
Yeah.
So, definitely, like, that idea, even just that, him saying, like, I wouldn't sleep if I was in here. I wouldn't sleep on the like in the same room as you guys. And then he had made a comment to me, because every single time we do, like, the bracketology, I think it's called, like where you, like, the brackets, you know, you show, like, everybody on the brackets, whatever, like that. I would sit by the belt. Every single one, I would sit by the belt. Yeah. And even if I had to get there first, and he said, every single time I see you, you always sitting by that belt.
Yeah.
I wonder why.
There you go. Smart.
And because I didn't even have to say it, he recognized that. And I loved that.
Yeah.
Because obviously I was doing it for that reason. Because in my mind, I'm claiming this belt.
Yeah.
I'm showing you guys. You guys may not know. Who knows? I never asked any of the guys if they recognized that, but he recognized that, and I thought that was pretty clever. I mean, well, like, just the fact that he could identify that, like, oh, I see what he's doing.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, and I knew that I was doing that, but they didn't know, but he did. And that shows you the level. That shows you the difference. That shows you the mindset that he's catching on. He's paying attention.
He's watching everything.
And he's not even on the show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not competing, you know what I mean? But, like, he still has a competitive mindset. Freddie Roach, man. So, you know, cause we got it from you know, Andre, and now Freddie Roach, I feel like, just that work ethic. This guy works hard. I mean, like, he'll train with all of the guys that were on his team. He trained with all of them. He would, you know, if they had a fight, you know, or he had to stay late, he would, you know what I mean? And I just love his work ethic. I love how he truly cares, like, you know what I mean, for his fighters, especially, like, when he's there.
And he lives for the sport. I mean,
he definitely,
in a video, I think Title did way back in the day. He said something about, living upstairs above wild card. And he's like, this is what I do. This is my life. I don't need anything else. This is what I do.
Yeah, he lives for the sport.
He's all about boxing.
Yeah, and you love that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if he didn't have boxing, he maybe his condition may be worse. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think that the fact that he is always active, he never lets his mind go too far, because
I think he's even said that without boxing, I don't know what kind of shape I'd be in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he acts like if he stops boxing or training people for boxing, that something will happen to him. So, yep. and I love that. I mean, that work ethic is incredible. And I'm glad that he's, part of our sport.
And he's so accessible and presentable too.
Absolutely.
Approachable.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, shoot, I feel like I've seen him talk to random people about boxing all the time.
Yeah.
Guy is just, yeah.
So people are already surprised to go into wild card, and he's just behind the desk, like, "Hey, Freddie," he's like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Think he's gonna be on some throne somewhere or something.
Yeah, you would think that like a guy like him would have somebody like doing that, but like, you'll catch him there all the time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So let's hit on Brother Nazim, because legend.
Oh, of course. So Brother Nazim. Man, where do I start?
I know. He's
I mean, I've learned so much from that guy, even before the show. And during the show, I mean, he kept my mind where it needed to be in order to have that. And I think I would definitely say that he is, a part of that mindset that I was talking about. That part of that mindset of always staying ready, right?
Yeah.
When he's on the show, literally, because he always had his towel with him. He would literally, we'd be walking or eating or whatever the case is. He'd take that towel and swing it at you, and you gotta hit you. You know what I mean? At any point in time, you'd be literally mid bite. You know what I mean? Whoop, I gotta duck. You know what I mean? It's that mindset of always being ready, always staying ready. And I've learned so much from him. I mean, just throughout the years, and he was, he's a big part of my career, and I've learned so much from him. One of the things, and I always say this, when people ask me about him. The first fight back from the Contender, it was my first fight with Golden Boy, mm-hmm. and he wasn't training me for the fight, but obviously, I would always keep in touch. And I find out, like literally the day of the fight, I find out that he passed.
Yeah.
And literally the first thought that I think to myself, and this was one thing that I learned from him, was the first thought was working, right? Mm-hmm. And so he had this thing, when anybody who knows him, that's ever seen him in the boxing gym or anything like this, if his phone rings and he's in the boxing gym, he would answer his phone, go like this, working, hang up, and put his phone away.
Yeah.
It could be anybody. It could be the president of the United States. It could be whoever they wanted to be. It could be his wife.
Yeah.
And I asked him one time, I said, why do you do that? He's like, because I'm on task right now. He's mm-hmm. like, my wife, she knows what I'm doing. She knows where I am. She knows if it's that important, I'm not there. So no matter if somebody died, no matter whatever the case is, I can only get to that when I'm able. Right now, I'm able. So I like me, you telling me about this experience or whatever's going on, I can't change that. I can't fix that, but I can talk to you about it when I'm finished. You know what I mean? And true enough, like if you're working a regular job, you can't just answer the phone and be like, hey, yeah.
Right.
Whatever you want it to be. Yeah. You can't just answer the phone. Hey, yeah. Oh, excuse me. My wife is calling. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, they're going to say, hey, get off your phone. Call her later when you're finished, Yeah. And that's the case. And so when I thought about that, obviously I was sad when I found out that he was he passed. But I'm looking, at my situation. I got to fight later on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I thought that was an incredible message to stay focused. You know what I mean? To not lose focus, because like no matter what happens, like I can't mess up this opportunity. I have this opportunity right here. I have this situation, and I know that if somebody else, if he was in my corner, right, he would tell me the same exact thing. If somebody else passed, whoever it may be, he would say, "Hey, you can grieve later, but you have to make sure that you win this fight tonight, because this is your opportunity. So let's put that away until we finish this, and then we can go back to that."
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I most definitely
He's
learned.
instilled that in you. Yeah.
And many other things, you know what I mean? And he was definitely a part of me staying focused for the Contender as well.
Do those the famous Nazimisms come up in your head throughout fights, or when people are talking to you about in the quarter, or they have those stuck with you? The swim without getting wet.
Like that one will never, ever, ever without getting wet will forever be a thing. I think there should be a shirt like that, swim without getting wet.
That would be classic. Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. I think that all of his little sayings will always stick in my head.
What a great experience too, because not everybody has that opportunity to train with somebody at that level that has that kind of a wealth of knowledge that they're bringing into the equation. So, I mean, you had to have grown as a fighter just from that short relationship that lasted.
Absolutely, and I think all of the guys, especially that were on the show, were able to have access to these two great trainers. You know what I mean? And to learn from them, to be a part of that, to have that experience. You know what I mean? They'll forever be better fighters for it.
Yeah.
So I think that's great to have had that experience and have both of those guys on the show, have all four of those guys being a part of such a great experience.
Well, and again, just surrounding yourself with those people that make you rise to be your very best.
Yep.
Yeah. So you mentioned your dad. I don't want to dwell on that, but we've had seems like a new crop of young fighters are coming along. You got the Vargas boys. You got Chris Eubanks Jr. You've got Connor Ben. You've got Trey and Kenzie Morrison from Tommy Morrison's kids. We've seen a rash of sons of fighters come about that are kind of rising into the scene. Where's that come from? Does it come from guys being raised in the gym? How'd that materialize for you? From the very beginning, did you know, I want to be like my dad, I want to fight? Or did something just develop from being in the gym for a long time? Or how did that come about? And why do you think we're suddenly seeing this kind of explode at a level it's never done before?
I mean, it could be a multitude of reasons on why, we see these things, sons of great fighters come about. But, for me, I think that I didn't actually want to fight like growing up. I didn't have my first amateur fight till I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, so I started very late. I picked it up very late. But once I did, it was kind of one of those things where I was like, I just know, this is, I love it. And that could be from being around it, having that familiarity. It could be, genetics, all kinds of things. And for me, I just felt like once I did it, especially like when I had my first sparring session, I was just like, yeah, I need to do this again. I like this.
So what prompted that? What prompted you to go, I want to box a little bit, try this out?
So actually, a friend of mine, Brennan Cavanagh, I'll never forget his name. He was a big fan of my dad's. He thought it was crazy that I didn't want to box. Like at the time, he wanted to be a boxer and stuff like that. His favorite fighter was Oscar De La Hoya.
which I'm sure at that time, a lot of people were.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of young guys, they love Oscar De La Hoya. But anyways, he loved my dad as well. But his favorite fighter was Oscar De La Hoya. So he was like, "Hey, man, you want to come down to the gym and Azusa Boxing Club and spar?" Like, yeah,
I guess.
sure. All right, I'll roll with you.
Yeah.
And so actually, cool enough, Zach Padilla was the one who actually supervised that sparring session. Yeah. And so it was so cool. We did, I think, 3 or 4 rounds, and afterwards I had a bloody nose and stuff like that, and I just remember thinking, yeah, I got to do this again.
You were hooked.
Bloody nose, and we were all like messed up and bloody and stuff like that. And I was like, I like this. This is cool. You know what I mean? And ever since then, I have to say that I fell in love with it. You know what I mean? Obviously, it wasn't just like all at once, but one day led to the next day, next fight, things like that. And you just stay consistent with it, and you find yourself, 13 years in,
Wow.
And I'm at 7 years of professional now.
Yeah.
I love it. And I've had my bumps, I've had my bruises, I've had, I've cried many tears, bled open, all that, but I love it. And I wouldn't change it for anything. And
it's all part of the journey.
Exactly. I plan on, getting that world title.
Yeah.
And, and getting the most out of this. But I have to say that, my dad has also played a big role in me being, the fighter that I am. Obviously, if I didn't have the experience, if I didn't have his support, especially when I was younger, I wouldn't be able to facilitate this. I wouldn't have as much knowledge as I have. I wouldn't have been around all of the great people that I've had around me. And I'd just be different. So absolutely, he's played a part, but he wasn't the only reason, right? And he was like, oh, I'm going to do this because my dad's doing this. I'm doing this for me, but he's definitely had a big part of it, right? If you have like an orange tree, right? And, fruit drops, and then all of a sudden, a couple years later, another, tree goes up, but nobody planted anything.
Right.
Not by accident. You have die and that they left the seed, and the seed catches and it grows.
It's a natural evolution of things.
Exactly. So obviously, by being around my father, I've had those seeds. I've had that experience of being at great fights, being around such great fighters and people and stuff like that. And that has, of course, I want that. I want to be a world champion. I want to fight and get all the same things. I can do it. I love this. So I want to get the most that I can out of it, like he did.
Yeah.
So absolutely, he's most definitely played a part, but he's not the only reason.
Yeah. When you, after your first sparring thing, you started to get into it, was he like, yes, or was he like, oh no? Because some fathers are excited to see their kids follow in their footsteps in terms of boxing. Some aren't, because it's a tough sport. It's a rough business.
Yeah, I mean, my dad took a very stoic approach, which was, I'm glad that you did it, or I'm glad that you're saying this. But if you're going to do this, you got to do it to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
You guys have a shirt. We don't play boxing.
Yeah.
Right. We don't play. It's not like, oh, we're going to go play football or play baseball or things like that. You can get hurt. And this is a hard life. And he told me that this is, I know that you're seeing all of this glory, but it's a hard life. It's not easy. And if you're going in there, you got to give this your absolute best.
Yeah.
Right. because you may come out on the other side not so well.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of guys that have come out on the other side not so well. So with that being said, if you're going to do this, you got to do this to the best of your ability and be the best that you possibly can. Yeah. We don't play boxing.
It's not a hobby and you don't dabble at it.
Exactly.
You're all in or you're all out.
Exactly. So with that being said, I feel like he wasn't like yes, or it was just more so, hey, I understand. Now do your best.
now you got to go all in.
Yeah.
But all that, you bring that up, that has to benefit you going into a fight like this, the Mandalay Bay, on TV, all the everybody watching, all the expectations, all leading up to this, because you did grow up around this. You were around legendary fighters. You were around your dad. You were in that environment. You experienced that big fight atmosphere that some fighters have a hard time adapting to. But you almost have one up because you've gone through all that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I've been on some big fights. I've been on some big cards before. I was a Manny Pacquiao, Jeff Horn, you know, in Australia. You know, there was, I think, 90,000 people there or something like that.
Yeah.
I fought on the Contender. I mean, huge stage.
Yeah.
So I've had, exactly.
Yeah.
I've had experiences that were big. You know, and so I'm not afraid of this. I've had my own, as well as I've also been to, you know, Sugar Shane Mosley and Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah.
One, you know what I mean? I've been to, you know, like Margarito and Sugar Shane Mosley. So I've been around these things. I've been around the camps for this. I've been around all of these situations in order to have me prepared for this moment. So I'm ready.
You were prepped for it. Yeah. And luckily you're not going to Australia or somewhere for this fight. It's home. You have to love that it's in Las Vegas. You're not traveling somewhere.
Absolutely. It's the boxing capital of the world, you know,
exactly.
I'm ready for I'm ready for it, man.
Well, Shane, it's awesome. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us. I know all of our fans, our listeners, our followers are going to be tuning in to watch the fight. They can follow you on the Tribe Mosley. Is that your Instagram?
My Instagram is at Shane Mosley Jr.
Okay.
So my name, I got blessed to have that. Easy Instagram name, and then on Twitter, I think it's one Shane Mosley Jr. and Facebook, I guess it's Shane Mosley Jr. as well. So please give me a follow, and I appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate you guys supporting, and thank you for everything.
So follow Shane, follow him on Instagram, follow him on his social channels, follow him in this next step towards what's going to be a legendary career. And tune in to DAZN on May 29th. Watch the action. We're excited for it.
Yeah, man. And we also have a great main event. We got a great test for the young Devin Haney.
Yep.
He's fighting Jorge Linares. I think it's a very, very, very good test for him.
That is a great test.
We'll see what happens. We'll see if the young lion, comes up and shows who he really is, or if the old buck has.
He's still got it in him.
Yeah, he still got it in him.
Well, again, those are the classic matchups. It's like, is Linares going to pass the torch, or is
right.
Devin Haney going to come up a little short against somebody that has a lot of experience?
Yeah, and we'll see, because Jorge Linares is definitely a live dog, and he's very. I mean, if he's able to put Lomachenko down, you know what I mean, he can. He's dangerous. So
not easy to do.
I'm excited.
Well, it's going to be a good night of fights. We're looking forward to it. Shane, good talking to you, and we'll meet up again soon.
All right, thank you.
Later.
Peace.
Thank you for watching this episode of Title Unboxed. If you're anything like me, you can never get too much boxing. So if you'd like to watch more episodes, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and our Title Boxing YouTube page.